to the show. A pleasure to have you. So 14 years ago, funny enough, tonight we have this big TV debate. The original TV debate, 2010, was when the nation was introduced to Clegg Mania. That's when you stepped up and you were elected into that coalition. Shall we start with that? The 2010, you get in, David Cameron, of course, Prime Minister, Nick Clegg. What was that like?
Well, you're making me feel very old now because it seems like ancient history. So much political water has passed under the Westminster Bridge since that time. At the time, we thought it was quite sort of edgy and exciting that there was a coalition government, which we hadn't seen before for many decades previously. Little did I know that would be the most stable 5 years of my 14 years in Parliament. So it was obviously very exciting entering Parliament. It was a combination of an ambition, something I'd wanted to achieve for such a long time. And we weren't expecting to go into coalition, so it was certainly a very interesting time. But it really does seem so long ago. Since then, of course, we've had the Scottish independence referendum, the Brexit referendum, the Brexit deadlock and chaos, a global pandemic, war in Europe. So there's been lots to be keeping me busy. Let's
talk a bit about Brexit. Do you honestly think that David Cameron, when he said, I'll put it in the manifesto to grant the referendum, did you think that that would ever happen?
I hoped it would. I've been somebody who has been arguing that the European Union was bad for this country's democracy and independence for many years beforehand, when it was very actually unpopular. It was seen as a bit of an odd fringe argument to make. And so I was pleased it was in the manifesto. Obviously David Cameron didn't believe in leaving the European Union, as he made abundantly clear, which was the right thing to do because, he lost the argument. But when that referendum came, I could just feel, I knew it was going to happen against what the opinion polls said were the odds. One of the reasons why I'm leaving Parliament now is I think we have squandered the 80-seat majority we had in 2020. We could have done so much more with those Brexit freedoms that we have now. Appreciate, COVID came along, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but I really do feel we could have made more of Brexit and still can.
A lot of people listening to this, Henry, will be nodding their heads profusely. It seems astonishing, does it not? In a heartbeat, that 80-seat majority is being handed to where we seem to be travelling the direction now, a Tory wipeout, akin to 1997. In that respect, Henry, are you sort of glad you're ducking out now?
I think now's the right time. There are a number of personal reasons as to why I've decided not to seek re-election. But also, over the last 2 years, I've felt increasingly that the strategy that the government is employing fits less and less with my principles. As I say, I think we could have been far bolder as a party with a good majority. We should have been slashing taxes. We should have been realising those Brexit freedoms that we had in so many different ways. And we really, I think, wasted that opportunity. And there have been far too many unforced errors that have been made, and indeed even in the last 24 hours have been made, things that really, as a party, we should have been avoiding. And so the tragedy of this is that it looks like we will be handing an election over to Keir Starmer, who stands for nothing, or worse than that, actually has very left-wing tendencies, and certainly the people behind him have very left-wing tendencies, and I very much worry for the future of this country under a Starmer government.
So, Henry, you've been very forthright there about squandering that 80-seat majority, not getting a proper Brexit done. Do you think the problem is the Conservative Party simply hasn't been very conservative? It's not a Conservative Party. It seems still to be split along the kind of wet Tories, you might call them, and the more conservative actual Tories. And is that the undoing of the party? Is that why we are where we are now?
Yes, it is. And that's why I think we're seeing reform coming up and being very popular, even though the campaign was only launched just a few days ago. When I speak to the electorate, and I still do, politics will always be in my blood to an extent. They're not crying out for Keir Starmer or Labour, different from how it was in the mid-1990s in the run-up to the 97 election. People were enthused about Tony Blair and New Labour. Yes. They're not enthused about the Labour offering now, but they are disappointed, upset and angry that we have squandered that 80-seat majority opportunity. I think the majority of the country is to the right of centre of politics. They want lower taxes, they want secure borders, and it is bitterly disappointing we haven't been able to deliver that.
Now, Henry, we've only got 1 minute left. We've got so much to pack in of your career. What do you think is your finest achievement in politics? How will you bow out happy?
Well, one of the things I did when the pandemic hit was establish a group in Parliament, an all-party group called the Future of Aviation, to really lobby on behalf of the aviation sector. I had Gatwick Airport in my constituency. I think we've now seen a sector that is booming back to pre-2019 levels and very successful. So that's one thing I'm pleased about. I also did a lot of work on animal welfare in my time in Parliament. A lot of animal welfare policies have been brought through, so I'm delighted about that.